Okay, good morning. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. Today, I'm very pleased to have with me as my guest, Cynthia Cole, who's a partner at Baker Botts. Cynthia, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Richard. I'm really excited to be here.
Terrific. Well, Cynthia, I want to start by asking you, most of the guests that I have on this podcast are, kind of law firm career partners. Nothing wrong with that, obviously. But I noticed in your background, and what intrigued me was, you have a lot of in-house experience, in fact, a lot more. And then you obviously went back to private practice. So I want to kind of talk to you about that and maybe just start with kind of some of your in-house experience, maybe just highlighting some of the few things that you did in-house and what you liked most.
So sure, let's see. Okay, first question, right? What did I do in-house and what did I like most? So my first job in-house was working for MicroStrategy, right, in Northern Virginia, outside DC, doing licensing. And so that was in 2004. Yeah, 2004. And so, and that was, we rolled out a new SaaS product, right? I mean, it was an interesting time, right? To be in-house. And the first thing, obviously, besides no longer billing my time, which I very much appreciated, I also really got to know the business, right? I worked with the engineers, I worked with product, I worked with finance on revenue recognition issues. And I really felt like for the first time, I really understood what it meant to be a lawyer who could actually be helpful in a commercial sense, which, most companies exist to make money, right? For the shareholders, they exist to create value. And I just appreciated being able to really be a part of the value creation, right? So, and then learning about the product and understanding it in a way that I didn't from the outside.
Totally. Well, is there one, and I know you've had a lot of different roles. Is there one particular, is one of your other roles, like which was the most interesting or which one did you enjoy the most maybe, and talk a little bit about that?
So, I mean, a couple of them, I guess, when I moved to France in 2006, 2007, and I was at Global Crossing, which was then acquired by Level 3. And so there I was regional counsel, and I was working in French, right, dealing with French laws that not a lot of, I didn't have a lot of experience doing that. So that was a big leap, right, in sort of experience. And then, but obviously I would say, the biggest sort of pivotal career job I had was when I was general counsel at Spectra 7 Microsystems. And I worked very closely with the CEO, Tony Steliga, who was CEO and founder of the company, right? And he really brought me on in a more strategic role than just legal advice. So then when he passed away suddenly of a heart attack at 55 years old in 2016, I became the interim CEO, right? And so that was, on many levels, very painful, right? And just going through that, shock and working with the company and then putting in place the tools to essentially just get through the crisis, right? And that was also something that I never expected to do. That was, a job title. I might have aspired to it, right? But I probably didn't say it out loud. And so I think that was also just frankly, personally and professionally, that was an experience that really pushed me, right? And really forced me to think about, at that point I was maybe 17 years in, right, to my career. And so it was really, taking a look at what it is that I liked about what I was doing, what I wanted to do moving forward, and sort of what was my highest and best use, right? And so, yeah, it just, that was a...
Well, talk a little bit about, how was it like just having a pure business role? I mean, that's very unusual for lawyers usually to switch to that. I mean, how was that like? I mean, was that something you really enjoyed? Was it exciting? What did you think about that?
I liked it a lot. I liked it a lot. I mean, I think, you never fully remove your lawyer cap, right? You're always, but that was one of the things that I enjoyed from the get-go, right? When I started at MicroStrategy in 2004, was being able to actually affect change in a way that wasn't just like writing a memo and talking about risk. It was a way that was like, okay, well, fine, these are some risks and we should acknowledge them, but how are we going to work around them, right? And really, a CEO does that on a different level, right? They maybe pay less attention to the risks than the lawyer does, right? But they see them for sure. I mean, they have to, right? A well-intentioned and someone who is a real leader is going to see those risks, and they may ignore them. They're going to work around them. They're going to have the team supporting them that is going to compensate for those risks and is going to, right? You want to, I mean, your team is so important. So you're never by yourself. And a good CEO is clearly someone, I think, who chooses his or her team very well. So, I mean, it's awesome to be CEO.
Well, so you did that, obviously, but then you obviously decided to go back to private practice. Why not pursue another CEO role or continue along that path?
Right. So, I think, Richard, I probably didn't feel ready, right? I didn't feel like that was enough experience to really throw my hat in the ring for like a legitimate, permanent CEO position. But it did definitely give me the impetus and the idea to really take more control and more ownership of my own career, right? Which is what really pushed me to start looking at going back into private practice and really trying to be more entrepreneurial in my own practice.
I see. So now, obviously, it's been many years since you were in private practice last. How was it like making the adjustment back? What would you say?
So, well, I have to say that the team, the team, whoever I'm working with is really important, right? And so I felt very supported at Baker Botts and what I was doing and sort of the team in California and the larger team, right, at the firm. So that was all very good. And it was scary. I mean, I won't say it wasn't scary because I didn't know what was going to, I didn't know if I was going to be able to, I had some ideas about what I wanted to build. But I didn't know if it was going to work. And so, and I didn't like billing my time. I still don't, right? It's super annoying. But aside from that, I guess, what I have it knowing to backtrack a little bit, right? I had worked in Europe and came back to Silicon Valley in 2013, 2014. And I had talked to a lot of SaaS software companies about data privacy at that time. And they thought I was crazy, right? Many of them really said to me, like, I don't even know why you think data privacy is an issue. What are you even talking about? And I thought to myself, wow, I think one of us is going to be wrong, right? In the future. And it might be me, but, I would bet on data privacy and security sort of getting more attention and becoming more of a business issue, right? And so that was where I put my money, when I started building my practice in 2017 and basically my attitude, Richard, was, you know what, this is either going to work and it's going to be great, or it's going to fail. And then, you know what, I will have tried.
So describe how your practice has shaped now. You've been doing it for a few years. Well, how would you describe your practice now, 5 years after taking on this new venture?
Yeah. So it is about, I would say it's executive level privacy, right? It is looking at privacy and security from a transactional perspective, first of all, because, in the past, it was mainly a sort of breach response kind of a practice, right? There's an incident. Okay, who do we have to notify? Look at the state laws, right? but that's not what the practice is anymore, right? And so, and again, given my background and my sort of transactional focus, I started out as a corporate attorney, and I've always worked right in sort of general counsel seat or commercial transactions. That's how I was looking at privacy is, what would I want to know if I'm the general counsel? How do I want to see, how do I need to talk to privacy? How do I need to talk to the CEO or the board about privacy and security? Where is the risk going to come? Is it going to come through my vendors, right? And so that's what my practice looks like. So it's counseling, executive teams on compliance with the CCPA. What does my privacy statement need to look like? How does that work with my relationships with third parties, whether those are people who are selling me services or services that I'm buying or licensing, whether I'm consumer faced, what kind of risk does that look like? And how does that risk need to be reflected in my 10K, for example, which we know, the 10Ks are, the 10K reporting is probably going to look very different in a few months, right? For most companies with respect to security. And, M&A transactions, digitalization, right? A lot of companies obviously want to be able, there's traditional sort of social media and ad tech, but a lot of companies that have not traditionally used data want to use it. And so, but they don't know how, they don't know necessarily what a SaaS agreement looks like, right? And so how do you sell data as a service? What are the risks involved with that? So that's kind of what my practice looks like.
Well, it sounds like you made a very good bet. What do you feel like tell me a little bit how your private practice has really helped you in terms of like how you're dealing with the clients. Do you think clients choose you more, are more likely to choose you when they see that you have this deep in-house experience? Do you think they notice that you maybe speak a different language when you're dealing with them? Tell me a little bit about that.
I would like to think that it helps. Yes, Richard. And I do think that, because right away I understand the pressures that they're feeling right in the general counsel seat. I understand the pressures they're getting from the CFO. I understand what it's like to have a discussion with the CEO, sort of at the last minute, and there's an issue that they need to address, and right? I mean, because I've had to do it. And sometimes those are not very pleasant conversations, right? And I understand why I chose the outside counsel who I chose for particular matters, and why those people meant so much to me, right? And so that's what I really try to do is to be those, to be those examples. And a lot of what I do is translate. Right? It's translating from maybe sort of especially in security, translating very sort of technical issues or technical problems, and just being that bridge, right? So that the general counsel understands that, look, the general counsel doesn't necessarily have to understand all of the technical issues, but they do know that they can rely on me, right? To be that bridge, to help translate and make everybody understand, and then be able to disperse it to a wider audience. Right?
So how are you enjoying it? It sounds like you're enjoying it quite a bit. Would you say you like it more than being in-house? And what would you say?
You know what? I really have never enjoyed my career more now than
Wow.
I mean, which is amazing, frankly, after 22 years. And
that is amazing.
I mean,
well,
so,
what do you think? What do you think about it makes it so enjoyable? I mean, what do you think about it that suits you so well?
I'm really thankful, right? I'm really thankful that I have been able to create a practice that takes from my in-house experience, right? My business and my legal experience, my international experience, right? And create a sort of hybrid practice that I think is very responsive to what clients are looking for now, right? As they're looking to their legal advisors to be more pragmatic in billing, for example, and in solving issues for them that are outside of the box, right? Like, how are we going to look at this in a way that, again, isn't just like let's go write a memo or let's send a cease and desist letter. Fine. I mean, those things all still work and they work very well, right? But there's an expansion, right? There's an expansion in the way that we practice law. You know, so many of my clients obviously are focused on diversity issues. They're focused on ESG. They're focused on leadership. And I can speak to them about those issues at the same time.
Obviously speak to a lot of lawyers, but it's always great to hear a lawyer practitioner who really, enjoys what they're doing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I would never refuse another, a job as CEO. If one came up for the right company, I would take it for sure, right? Because there's no better job.
Totally.
But I mean, this one comes close.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's exciting, Cynthia. Well, I really appreciate your taking the time to speak with me. And if you do ever decide to find that CEO job, you'll have to come back and tell me about it.
I will. Thanks, Richard.
This is Richard Hsu and Cynthia Cole. Thanks.